This episode made me want to buy a yukata like really bad. I think that Hawkeye wears the black one. Is it a yukata? Yeah, I want to buy one.
Okay.
I know the one she's wearing, I believe, is a kimono.
Yeah, yukatas, kimonos, they're all very similar.
Isn't that the dragon?
What?
What?
Kimono dragon.
I almost left the call, but I don't want to make Craig angry.
We haven't officially started the episode, but that's going in at the end. Oh, fuck.
Kimono. Like the kimono dragon.
The kimono dragon. Oh, no. Oh, you're so not great.
Oh, you love me.
Live from the episode where not even all the alcohol in Hawkeye still could make it bearable, this is the Best Cure Anywhere podcast. I am your host, Anthony, here with my two cohorts who are slowly and painfully learning to love my favorite show, Ethan, and, of course, Jasky. How are you?
Yep.
How are you boys? What goes on?
Good. Yep. Better than this episode.
We will get there. We will get there. Anything new and exciting in the world, or is life just kind of is?
It's cloudy. That's a first.
Thank God, actually. Like, really.
Yeah.
I was getting concerned when halfway through October it was still in the 90s. But, you know.
What do you mean? That's normal.
It is now.
It's always been normal. What are you talking about?
Oh, boy. Wilson, how about you? How's Kansas? How is the Flatlands?
Went to a pig roast yesterday. Shot some guns. Committed some traffic violations.
America.
I feel like the longer you stayed in Kansas, the more like Kansas you were becoming.
I'm assimilating. It is really my best option for survival.
I think you are not assimilating, you are being assimilated.
How long do you wait before telling someone you haven't met who is a native of Kansas that you lived in California most of your life?
Oh, I look them in the eyes and I lie. I say Nevada. I don't even give it a second thought.
Do you say Nevada or Nevada? Nevada.
Nevada.
How do you say it?
I say it Nevada, actually. Nevada?
Nevada, oh God. And there goes our entire Nevada audience. All right, or Nevada audience,
all
whatever.
Two of them.
Good riddance.
One day we'll have to discuss Jared's hatred of the state of Nevada, but not today.
We had an entire episode where we just shit on Reno and Las Vegas. Like,
that's right. I already forgot about that. Don't worry, there's plenty of opportunities for shit on the other great locations in Nevada, like anyway,
the Hoover Dam. That's a Nevada, right?
Dam.
Is that
part
a
of
Nevada?
it is part of.
Hey, see that counts.
So before we get into the episode, we angered. I knew this day was coming. We upset the old people.
Oh no! Oh boy.
I've upset them twice by calling them old. But
well, yep. There you go again.
So we got. In all seriousness, we got a couple comments. We were so focused on. Remember our discussion about William Catt, the guy in the foxhole who could have been Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
We were so focused on William Catt potentially being Luke Skywalker in an alternate universe. We didn't even mention any of the things he actually was in, and that upset some people. And by upset, I mean like made them point it out to us. They're not actually angry, I hope.
Well,
the two
wait
biggest
until
ones,
I go on my tirade about Social Security benefits.
Oh God. Anyway, so the two biggest things that people pointed out that he was from that we might know, I personally didn't know of one of them, is Carrie. He was Tommy Ross and Carrie, not Timothy. Have either of you two seen Carrie?
Nope.
Do you know what Carrie is?
Pop culture references, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm. I know the pop culture references, but I've never actually seen Carrie. And I know I know there are lots of people cringing. Yes, we said this before in the podcast. We're dumb millennials. We don't know what good TV is. We like Marvel movies and Star Wars. Leave us alone. The other one he was in that people point out was The Greatest American Hero, where the synopsis for The Greatest American Hero is a high school teacher becomes a superhero and hijinks ensue.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could be so free. Yeah.
What?
What?
What was that?
That was the theme song.
How
It's
do you know
burned
that?
into my memories.
Hey, hang on. We've just struck a chord. How do you know this? Share with us.
My
Connect with our audience.
My knowledge of things is vast and unpredictable.
One of those two is true. How do you know the theme song to The Greatest American Hero?
Back when they were still doing the reruns of the Dukes of Hazzard before they got pulled from the CW, I'd stay up late and watch them. But being a young little tyke like 8-year-old Wilson, I'd fall asleep in the armchair in the living room, and so I would always wake up at like 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. whenever they started playing that, because that particular theme song came on, and it just jerked me from my slumber.
Have you ever actually watched the show, or do you just have the theme? Did you just know that if you woke up to the theme song, it was time to go to bed?
Yeah, that's it. I never watched beyond the episode, but I've been jerked awake to the theme so many times that I'm intimately familiar.
Okay. Damn. I was expecting us to be like, these two things he was in. Cool. Anyway. That is very weirdly specific. Okay.
We're slowly peeling back the layers that are the onion that makes up Wilson's history.
Well, wait until I tell you guys that I got the theme wrong and it's from a completely different show.
Oh, I'm sure they will yell at us. We're going to have to confirm that after we're done recording.
We'll verify this later.
You're either going to give our audience a really nice nugget of nostalgia, or I'm going to have to go in the post edit and be like, yeah, we know he's wrong. Please don't send me emails. We'll see.
We'll see.
So yeah, William Catt could have been Luke Skywalker, was The Greatest American Hero. Very cool. All right, boys, we've stalled long enough. It is time to discuss. It is time to discuss Season 1, Episode 13 of MASH, Edwina. The air date was Christmas Eve, 1972.
Now,
talk about getting a lump of coal in your stocking. Oh, boy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this had the spookiest opening theme of any episode.
We're getting there. Hang on. Before we get into with all the things that make this episode weird. Written by Hal Dresner, directed by James Sheldon. James Sheldon, this is one of 2 episodes of MASH he directed, and he comes back to direct a much better episode, but not until season 7. So we'll get there when we get there.
All right.
Where do we even start with this episode? Right off the bat, the episode just feels weird because they're using what I can only describe, and it's fun. It's not even Jaws. It's Scooby-Doo music. It's Scooby-Doo. We're looking for clues in the haunted house music.
Quiet, gang. The monsters around. Let's split up and search for clues, gang. That's what it feels like. This feels like something that you would watch around Halloween, which was very confusing for me.
Yeah, because it's Halloween Eve. It's All Hallows Eve for us as we're recording this. But yeah, there's the weird, goofy music.
Everyone looks very serious and like tense. Radar looks like Radar.
Yeah, they try to play off something serious is happening, and yet we see a whole ass birthday cake in the background. And it's like, even after they show us the cake, they still pretend like, ooh, something spooky's happening. It's like, there's a cake.
Spooky.
Can we just take a moment to reflect? I think that genuinely a full episode of how they got that cake through hijinks and bullshittery would have been better than the one we saw.
We'll get to what could have made this episode better, but yeah, figuring out how to get a cake would have been more fun than this. I feel like we're dunking on this episode really hard because there are some good things I like about it, but yeah,
There are, but yes.
Yeah.
One of them, I will say this, Arlene Galanka as Eddie Ferguson or Edwina Ferguson. She is great. She is fantastic.
Oh, yes.
She is, for anyone who is not familiar with Arlene Galanka, as we are, because again, millennials, she is known for being a character actress, so lots of little one-off parts throughout her career. But some of the things that stood out to me in her filmography that I know I've either seen, heard of, etc. She was in the Andy Griffith Show, the new Scooby-Doo movies, which is hilarious considering the mirror. Yeah, she did just additional voice acting for the old Scooby-Doos. Same with the Yogi Bear show. She did some additional character voices. And I think if you go back and watch this episode and close your eyes while she's talking, she has a very Scooby-Doo character-esque voice. I don't know why. I don't know how to explain that better than that. It's like Velma. It's like she has discount Velma voice. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Like her voice fits in that universe to me. And I don't know how better to explain that. And her only other connection to MASH, this is the only episode she'll be in MASH, but she was also in one episode of Trapper John MD, which, to be fair, the only reason that show is even loosely connected to MASH is because the character's name is the same. Other than that, it's not really. But maybe one day, if we make it through this podcast, we can talk a little bit about Trapper John MD. But until then, we have Edwina. So the episode opens, weird music. They're throwing a birthday party for Edwina. It's a surprise party. They bring her in. They start giving out gifts. I think two of the very few good jokes in this episode are laid out right off the bat, and it's Frank wanting to give a toast and Trapper telling him we'd prefer it be a farewell address. And then Hawkeye responding to Frank's toast of he hopes we're all back with our loved ones soon. Hawkeye responding with just as long as no one's wife or husband finds out. Those, I think, are great jokes in a not so great episode. But anyway. So what did you guys think? First of all, had you guys seen this episode before? Or is this your both first time viewing?
No, this is the first time I had ever encountered this episode in the wild. Didn't get a lot of reruns.
Yeah, I wonder why. Jared, how about you? Had you seen this episode before? Or is this a first time for you?
So apologies for the delay. Yeah, I actually have seen this episode before. This is, I want to say this is one of the episodes we have on DVD. I feel like I vaguely recognize the character Edwina. I'm not certain if I've just seen this episode kind of like one-off on TV here and there over the years, or if we actually had it. But it feels familiar, if that makes sense.
All right. Very cool. So what did you guys, once Edwina was introduced and they're kind of getting into the party scene, what were you guys feeling? What were you guys, because I had kind of hinted that this episode was going to be one that was a little rough, but was there anything in this first opening scene that made you guys go, nah, I don't think it's going to be that bad? Or did you immediately see signs of like, oh boy, here we go?
Yeah, I think just the way they wrote the character Edwina was just way too over the top, and just like it seems like they're trying to shove every trope of the, spazzy, clumsy, doesn't look as good as the other nurses. Like they're trying to throw just every kind of trope and gag they can at this character to make something stick. I don't know, just the way they made it so that her voice is all shrill and annoying. Oh my god, yeah.
Sometimes she has a stutter, sometimes she doesn't.
Yeah, she has the sometimes stutter. Her voice is shrill. She's wearing this like very, I don't know what word to use, but like she's in that like floppy hat and wig.
Okay, I was gonna say she's wearing the floppy hat, but so is the nurse. So other nurses are too. But they made hers look extra worse on like hers.
Droopy.
Yeah, hers is like extra depressed. I don't know how else to put it.
And she's like clumsy to the point that it's clearly
it's
fake.
Comical. It's comically clumsy. Oh god.
Yeah. and then on top of her being over the top, the characters' reactions to her are even over the top.
Yeah.
Like Frank Burns, of all people in this universe, is the one who stops her and says, "Please let me handle the knife and cut the cake for you."
Yeah. Frank
She's so
is
clumsy
being
that even Frank is being nice. She's so clumsy, it's hard to believe it. That's I think was the first thing I noticed every time I watch this episode. It's like it immediately removes me from the episode. Like this feels like I'm watching Scouts do a really bad skit at campfire. Like it's not.
It's so forced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, very, very minor detail, but one that did catch my eye. When she blows out the candles on the birthday cake, right, and the frosting goes all over Trapper and Radar, they cut to a close-up of the frosting landing on his shirt, obviously, with a cast member probably right behind the camera, like pushing it out. When they cut back to the wide shot, it's in a different spot. They had to redo the props and everything, but they weren't quite. It wasn't quite close enough. But I did appreciate that though. Like they do try to make it close, but yeah.
I mean, you're talking in a time before CGI and really. Yeah. I mean, at least
they probably
for TV,
did that take 10, 15 times probably.
Yeah, and at least for TV, like I'm sure in movies you have costume people and makeup people doing their best to make everything like, oh, we need to make this scar in the exact same spot every single time. Yeah. Whereas it's just frosting on a shirt for the first season of a TV show. We're not too stressed.
The point that they were actually like trying to make sure that it looked the same in between shots. It wasn't completely different. Like props.
Nice. So Edwina gets some gifts. I think the gifts are kind of funny, like, you know, the bulletproof girdle and all that jazz. Oh my God. But then the plot of this episode starts to kick in, and it makes me rack my brain. They start singing for She's a Jolly Good Fellow to cover Henry's speech no one wants to hear, which makes Edwina upset about being single / a virgin. I don't know how we got from A to B, but I am confused.
Yeah, the plot, it's real shaky legs there, right there. It's like, okay, how do we make it? How do we start the story? Like, what sets her off, and what makes everyone, or what makes, you know, side character be aware that she's not happy? Yes, she's a jolly good fellow. That makes her go, I'm not a fellow or jolly because I'm sad and a man has not kissed me.
Although I will say, she has probably the most relatable line of the episode. I'm 28 years old and have never had someone ... to care for me. I don't know about you, gentlemen, but for me, a 27 and 9/10-year-old.
Oh, we're going by 9/10, are we? What are you? Like, are you 24-month-old baby? Are we doing that now? Side tangent. I despise people who measure their child's age in months instead of years long after they've turned 1 or 2 or even 3.
I was just saying I'm almost 28.
Bro, our lead host has just admitted that he's like profoundly lonely.
Let's go back to that. I'm sorry.
Hold me. I don't know. Oh. No. So
hostage apparently, or not, sometimes it's just nice to be held. Please go on.
Hostage or not? Oh no.
Wait, what are you doing in Kansas?
Whatever I want, usually.
Oh.
Anyway. So essentially the plot of this episode is Edwina is lonely. She thought that by her time in the army being surrounded by a whole bunch of dudes, she'd be able to find the one. She hasn't, and she's sad. That's fine. That's okay. I don't dislike that setup for a character.
No, it's everything else regarding Edwina. It's everything else.
So we cut to Hawkeye. And I forget these early season nurses just rotate through, and I forget which one's which. I think it's Leslie Scorch. Do not quote me on this. But he is trying to get jiggy with it, as the kids say. And she is
some sweet moves.
He is exceptionally lecherous in this episode also.
He is, yes.
At the beginning.
The plot demands it.
The plot demands it. But she is saying, no, Hawkeye, there's, again, this part of the plot I don't hate. There's 10 guys for every nurse, and there's no one for Eddie. No one has taken a shine to Eddie, which that's fair. I mean, like, you'd think ratio-wise there'd be someone, but again, this is where, like, the plot is believable, but the setup is believable, but the way that comes to resolution just does not make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye does have one line that I just cannot help but smile at every time, is as he's trying to get with Nurse Scorch. He says, "You have sexy knuckles. I didn't even know that was possible." I'm like, Hawkeye, I need you,
my guy, please
to relax, chill a little bit. Nurse
admiring
Scorch
her
is
knuckles.
yes, Hawkeye's admiring her knuckles. Nurse Scorch basically tells Hawkeye someone needs to get with Edwina, and Hawkeye kind of blows her off. In the next scene, we have Hawkeye and Trapper being approached by Radar, who has gotten something in his eye, and that something was a finger, because he was looking in the nurse's showers through a hole in the tent, which is very...
Oh, Radar.
I can't wait until we get out of...
Just a 30-year-old man being a 16-year-old boy.
I can't wait until we get naive Atumwa Farm Boy Radar and not whatever
Cringy.
season 1
Cringy
Ranger. Cringy Radar. So essentially, he overheard the nurses saying, "No one is getting anything from the nurses," cough, cough, wink, wink, until Edwina gets some, cough, cough, wink, wink. And we see I'll be honest, we see a montage where Hawkeye's doing some sort of Hawkeye-esque speech. I don't remember any word of this speech. It is it doesn't, it's not rememberable. It's just, I don't know. It's so hard to talk about this episode.
Spouting words.
It's just Hawkeye spouting words
over the course of the males of the camp being rejected by the females. They
Yeah,
get a narration. He's being a David Attenborough right now, but his version.
Yeah. And this is where it's hard to talk about this episode, because it's just like, it's such an uninteresting plot, and it could have been done so much better.
Yeah.
But we see that the nurses are basically completely, props to the nurses. They've set their minds to a goal and are sticking to it. But Radar gets rejected, Hawkeye gets rejected, Henry gets rejected,
Trapper gets rejected.
Trapper gets rejected. We see the very strange mess tent scene where every dude in the camp is just at anything a nurse does that is even remotely like might be an opening, they just jump on. And I think that's what makes me weird about this episode, is it's the lowest point MASH gets, I think, with the whole nurse doctor man woman relationship stuff. Not that there's anything necessarily bad in this episode, it's just, it's very tropey in a way that is just kind of gross. I know we've talked about it before, like with them raffling off a nurse in the first episode, Trapper fighting for a nurse in the third. Like, that's kind of a playful way to go about it, but it was never like weird. Whereas this episode's like, the nurses are there for one reason only, and that's to satisfy the doctors. And when they don't, it causes a problem. It's like, I just don't like it. It's
not a great, it feels like a mindset by the writers that they had in writing this episode of, well, if the women aren't being, women, then everything falls apart. It's like, well,
and there is, I think this might be the furthest I've reached for an episode to compare to. In season 11, there is an episode that has similar points to this episode where there is a nurse who is being overlooked, but instead of making her this dopey, clumsy girl, she is a competent, hardworking nurse who we have gotten to see over multiple seasons. And instead of, the camp having to bend to to her needs, she kind of gets a moment to be, no, I'm a person too. She kind of fights back against, a specific character. Literally, the episode's called Hey, Look Me Over. Like, it's a much better version of some of the things this episode is doing. And unfortunately, we won't get it for quite a while. But yeah, yes. And it's just...
Wow, so those are some great points you guys have been making while I've been staring at McLean Stevenson's legs.
Can you... Okay. All right. So, on that
quick side note, if that's all right. Do you both have the episode pulled up? Yes,
yes, we do.
Could you go to 7 minutes 44 seconds, or roughly around that time when Radar is looking at the Science-Y
7
nurse?
minutes 44.
The Science-Y nurse.
Yeah.
Yes. They have a lovely spread of scientific equipment on the table there. Now, I could be completely wrong. However, I'm just going to go for it. So you see the Erlenmeyer flask with the red liquid in it. I don't know if it's an Erlenmeyer flask, but it's very long. It looks a little strange, but I'm sure it has its own, specific purpose. They have some lovely water with food coloring in that, if I had to guess.
Yes.
I just choked on air. Jesus Christ.
Good God. What is this episode doing to us? Oh, no.
Oh, God. Okay. We can fix that in post, right?
We can, but we're not going to.
Back to my original point. The weird red liquid in the tube, all right? It's attached to a ring stand. That's what the little metal rod next to it is. Held on by what looks like a test tube clamp. I'm not... whatever, it's fine. Now, do you see the ring below it?
Yes.
What function do you think that serves? It's not holding anything. It's just kind of...
I imagine it would hold something had it been the correct vessel.
Yeah.
It seems to be like they just went, hey, what can we put on this thing to make it look more science-y? And they just stuck a ring thing on it. We're like, yeah, that looks like it does things, right?
Are we just gonna ignore the bottle of what is very clearly human piss off to the left of the screen?
No, I mean,
it's a hospital, so it might be a sample. I'm not going to rule that out.
There, as we saw in Germ Warfare, the hospital does need to do samples sometimes. Some of them go to Seoul. Some of them they can do in-house. I don't know why the lab is set up in the middle of the post-op. That seems not sterile or sanitary or safe.
This could just be where they're like looking at specimens and samples from the patients, potentially.
Yeah, but it also looks like, to your point, it looks like someone said, we need a nurse to be doing something with a microscope. Bring me the science implements.
Bring me the science table.
Just grabbed armfuls of Erlenmeyer flask, Bunsen burners, and test tube clamps and said, make it look sciencey.
I don't see any Bunsen burners, but yes, they're like, to be fair to them, all the props look legitimate. These all look like legitimate lab-grade glassware. Like the beakers, the flasks, even those like slightly brown colored glass jars on the bottom right there with the black caps. We have those. We use those for chemicals that, react to light or can be adverse to light. I also appreciate the ye olde microscope. That thing would be incredibly painful to use. Just imagine craning your head to go down 90 degrees and staring down at that thing every time you need to look at something. Incredibly painful. Yes. But just, I appreciate them, the props department, getting a little bit more, this is like a medical unit with medical stuff.
But they did it in like the most like broad, hit everything with a shotgun blast style possible.
It's like you got the right spirit. At all our medicine. You're a little confused, but you got the right spirit. Yeah.
Where were we before this? Yes, Colonel Blake's legs.
Colonel Blake's legs. Let's fast forward. I have that bookmarked.
Good, of course. So the Trapper and Hawkeye go to Henry, and again, in kind of another moment of the show, they ask Henry to order the nurses to knock it off, which is like,
Order them to do what precisely?
Yeah, that's like, nope, that's... The MASH HR department must be a nightmare to work in. God damn it. For those of you listening to this podcast and not watching it, Jared just sent a screen cap of Colonel Blake's knee in our group chat. Anyway.
Absolutely scandalous.
Henry refuses to order them to do that and leaves to go take an icy cold shower. Oh boy.
Good job, Radar.
They're really on the nose with the
they are really on the nose.
Sexual frustration in this episode.
Yeah, specifically regarding Henry. Oh boy. Ooh.
So this leads the officer men of the unit, not all the men of the unit, just the officers, to gather in the swamp, as Hawkeye says, to stop the siege. They are going to draw straws for someone to date Edwina Ferguson, which, again, this specific part of the plot, not as terrible as others. It's just how they strung it all together that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. From the very first time I remember seeing this episode, this is the first time in any piece of media I've actually seen the process of drawing straws. Like I knew the term meant to like pick someone randomly for something in like a sort of fair way, but I don't think I've ever actually seen a group of people draw straws until I watched this episode. And I can't really even think of another piece of media where a group of people genuinely do draw straws and one of them is ripped short. Like I genuinely can't think.
I can't remember what it was though, but I have seen other. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a TV show. I think it was a movie. But yeah, very rare for them to actually have like physical props where one of them is shorter than the other and actually have them pull it out one by one and go through the whole shtick. Instead of just being like, we're going to draw straws and then fast forward and cut to after they had already drawn straws and just
or using it as a metaphor for just picking someone. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, actually it was in the most recent season of Love, Death and Robots, actually, where they had a scene like that. Yes.
All right.
On the episode about the sailors and the monsters from the deep. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
Which I feel like could be 2 or 3 episodes, but
that's for another podcast.
Go watch it. It's a good show.
I do like how Frank is there, even though he's morally opposed, which makes you wonder, was Margaret in on this? Because we don't see Margaret this episode. Actually, we do for like one
We
scene.
do, but like not a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if Margaret was in on it, which would be interesting, but
maybe Hot Lips has turned into Temperate Lips.
Lukewarm lips. I hate that.
Room temp.
I'm lukewarm lips Skywalker on Universe. Anyway, played by William Catt. Anyway, Frank doesn't want to be there, and I love the little threats they make at Frank, and this one's one of my particular favorites. Frank, if you don't give your full cooperation to this, you will be stripped naked, painted purple, and dropped behind enemy lines by helicopter.
A fact that they have demonstrated they are fully capable of doing.
If they can drop Hawkeye dressed as Santa behind at the lines, they can absolutely drop
in a hot LZ too. They can easily do it with Frank. Yeah.
It wouldn't even be hard.
No.
Cowboy owes him a favor.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh boy. Cowboy would absolutely do it too. He'd think it'd be fun. He'd think it's the funniest thing ever.
Frank's in danger. Oh no.
Frank is in danger. So they draw straws, and lo and behold, Hawkeye draws the short straw because of course he does. We get the commercial break, we come back, and Hawkeye's like, that was a good practice round, and everyone's like, yeah, no, dude. It's you. It's only you.
Yeah,
and then the nurses come in, and Trapper delivers the most Ethan Wilson thing Trapper will ever say in this series.
It is my single favorite Trapper moment thus far, and probably ever.
Hey, what are these? Yeah, please. Shit, please.
Hey, what are they? They're wearing our kind of uniforms, but they're not built like us. They're all, soft and bumpy. You don't suppose they're,
women?
That's it. Couldn't think of the term. Now, if only I could remember what they're for.
I literally have seen this episode in the last several years, and like, that is, without a doubt, Ethan.
That is what
genuinely
happens
had that thought to me.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. See, it's all going, it's like, what are they for? Yes, what are the women for?
What
they
are
have
the
to be
women
for something, right? Oh, God.
This whole episode is just I'm so glad it's season 1 episode.
Yes,
they
I will
are
be
all
happy.
soft and lumpy.
Oh, God.
So now we begin the process of Hawkeye attempting to charm Edwina, which, again, there are parts of this series of scenes that I like. There are other parts that don't make sense. For example, Nurse Ferguson, Edwina, Eddie, takes 10 seconds to respond to a doctor's request and still hands him the wrong instrument.
Yep.
How long has she been there? And is this a normal thing? Because nurses get yelled at for less constantly, and not by Frank.
Yep.
She is just stun-locked that Hawkeye is even speaking to her in their professional setting. Like, lady, I get it, but also do your job.
How many patients, has she just malpracticed into an early grave? I would love to know.
It does this is the moment where they take Edwina's clumsiness and awkwardness too far, because it's like, she is a competent nurse. Don't make her incompetent.
The bumbling village idiot.
Yeah. That's Frank's job.
Frank is so kind to Edwina because when the North Koreans comes in, he can just call her over and say, "Hey, go ahead and give this one the business. You just do exactly what you do, Eddie."
So
that's why she's around.
The next scene is them in the chow line, and this is the part I like. It seems like Hawkeye is genuinely trying to get to know her.
Trying. Yeah.
This scene is the one scene I would keep, because when we're done talking about the episode as it is, I will give you my pitch for how this episode could have been done better. And this scene I would keep, and it's great, where he's just trying to make small talk, and she's kind of like deer in the headlights, like, why are you talking to me? This isn't normal. What happened? Are you making fun of me? Like that.
Yes.
Yes. This scene, yes. And I also love it because Alan Alda and Arlene Galanka, they are great in their scenes together in this episode. Even the bad ones, I think Arlene Galanka and Alan Alda are chef's kiss. So there's this whole thing where he's trying to kind of probe and break her wall, as we said at camp, he's trying to crack that nut.
He is. He's trying really hard.
I feel like we have to explain that before we can't just let that one slip out.
No. We absolutely can.
We can and we should.
So I'm not going to. Okay. When we worked at camp, and anyone who has worked with children can connect with this, there's always a handful of kids or a kid in your class, whatever, who is just mortified to be there, whether it's in a classroom, a summer camp, field, whatever the setting is. Those kids are, as we said, in their shell, and it's our job as the staff to find out how to, quote, crack their nut, to, bring them out of their shell, make sure they have a good time at camp. It's a very weird way to explain that process, but that's why it works so well, because you never forget that phrase. So yeah, that when Hawkeye's trying to crack Edwina's nut, and the more I say it, the less I like it, so I'm gonna stop saying it.
Thank you for taking the fall and drawing the short straw and explaining that fun little phrase.
Yep. Look, much like MASH, if we didn't go crazy every once in a while at camp, we'd all go crazy. So throughout this whole process, you can tell Edwina is giving off the awkward girl.
Struggling.
But she's giving off the awkward girl who is awkward all her life and can tell when people are fucking with her.
Mhm.
Like, I
She's
get
like,
it.
Something's not right here.
I get it. I was the fat weird kid in my elementary school. Like, I knew when someone was being genuine and when someone was just baiting me for something. Like, I get it. I get it, Edwina. I've been there. But again, I think the mess tent scene between Hawkeye and Edwina is good. I think it shows promise of what this episode could have been, and then, like we said, everything else is just weird. But so they end up going on a date, or agreeing to go on a date. And I don't know, was there anything else in the mess tent scene that I'm missing?
I don't think so.
We got the layers of Hawkeye, much like an onion, which I thought was a pretty good bit, actually.
Yeah, Hawkeye is, again, Hawkeye, when he's not being lecherous, he is genuine. And I think a little bit Hawkeye, because of he's trying to like deal with the awkwardness with jokes, you can tell he's kind of being that other side of Hawkeye, but he's showing the side of he's trying to genuinely talk to Eddie. He's not half-assing it, so to speak.
Yes.
It's just awkward because Eddie is written to be the most uncomfortably awkward human being in history. Yeah. So, we get Margaret for a second, and she's gone.
We do, and it is nice to be like, and look at these two little idiots. Disgusting! How vile! Meet you in the kitchen right behind the swill. Absolutely. It's like, ooh.
I forgot that line. That is my favorite Franken Hot Lips trope, where it's like, those degenerates. Meanwhile, behind the kitchen,
back of the swill.
Back of the swill. Oh, Frank, you really know how to show a lady a good time.
Oh, yes, he does. Oh, Frank.
Oh, Frank. We get the preparing for date montage, which is interesting.
It is interesting, yes.
Why do you think they chose Spanish bullfighter music?
Now, hang on. Where'd they get that, like, satin yellow pillow? Where did that come from? Because I feel like I haven't seen that.
It came from Hotlips' tent.
And the green lace with the daisies in it? Like, what?
Where did they get all this?
It came from Hot Lips' tent, because I remember seeing those exact same props in the Dear Dad letter when they fill her pillow with pudding.
So okay. Best Care Anywhere personal canon for MASH. We've had a couple of this. Obviously, the best one being that Young Hee is the first nurse assistant.
Yep.
Our new one is Margaret absolutely was on board with Edwina getting with Hawkeye. Like, all these, they decorated the tent with mostly stuff from Margaret's tent.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret was secretly on board. I'm here for this. It makes the episode ever so slightly better. But
yeehaw.
So we have Hawkeye all dressed up for the date. He goes to pick up Edwina, and it's just, I don't know if it's the music or
everyone's slowly coming out to watch him.
That's it. Everyone watching is the weird part. Everyone
just kind of watching. It's like, you guys just gotta sit here and look at us. It's just so phony.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like, And
I think that sums up why this whole episode is. It just feels phony. It feels staged. The whole episode feels that way, and I think that's why it's so hard to like.
He stood too close to the door, and he got his head caved in by Edwina. Of course. Oh, classic Edwina.
They get back to the tent, and Edwina, in the course of 5 minutes, spills a drink on Hawkeye, almost knocks his eye out with her forehead.
Yep.
Embeds glass in his foot, burns his butt cheek, steps on his foot, presses ice into his eye, not all in this order, by the way, and dumps an entire chimney of soot on him.
Well, first she gives him a mild concussion with the chimney, and then soot goes all over his head. But yes.
And I
Oh
do like,
my God.
I do like that in the midst of all this, Hawkeye is still like, look,
Trying.
okay.
He's still trying.
He's still trying. But then he gets into like the weird, and I wrote this down. Once everything's said and done, I wrote down, so Eddie is a klutz because she subconsciously wants to hurt men before they hurt her. And I literally wrote, okay, question mark.
All right.
It's
just like, really? That's where this went? That's the...
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Huh.
I do like that they don't make Eddie completely stupid. Like, she says, Hawkeye, look, I'm not dumb. I hear people talk. I understand what's going on here. Let's just pretend it all went well and go our separate ways, because this is going to be a fiasco. Like, at least they gave her that level of intelligence to be like, I'm not stupid. I know that this is a setup. But anyway, I have so much I want to say, but I just don't have the energy. This episode just... Hey, you guys, what did you guys think of? Because this is kind of the crux of the episode. At what point did you guys go, okay, this is too goofy?
I felt like it was getting too goofy like 15 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
And this is just
adding.
It just kept going. It just kept
boy.
going and going and going. And it's like, all right. Okay.
And the irritating thing is, Arlene Galanka is genuinely an attractive woman. Like,
yeah,
it hurts. This episode hurts me in ways I can't actually describe with the English
best
language.
question I have is, why did someone think this episode needed to be made?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
Look, I don't know.
Why was it? Why was it pitched, accepted, and then produced? What? Who thought this was a good idea?
Any episode of any TV show where they try to introduce a completely new character that has supposedly been around the entire time and is like suddenly becomes the main focus is just destined to fail. And
yeah,
you know, there are some notable exceptions, but that setup, that formula has always rubbed me the wrong way. So that's kind of what I knew was going to be.
Yeah, but the irritating thing is, we've seen MASH do it well in this series, in this season already. Mm-hmm. With well, I guess he wasn't always there, but episode 2, freaking oh god, why can't I think of his name? The guy who gets the desk. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of him? Oh no, I feel so bad because I wanted him to be a character more.
Him.
God damn it! And I know.
Hold on, I'm looking it up. You can just cut this in post.
They're screaming it at us.
Robert E. Cho?
No, Jack Soo. Jack Soo is the actor.
Charlie Lee.
Charlie Lee. They introduced Charlie Lee for 1 episode, and he worked. General Barker's only in for like 2 episodes, and he works. Arlene Galanka's character could have been a good one-off character, but they gave her such a dumb plot and such a dumb character to play. The character itself wasn't dumb, but like they cranked it to 11, and it's just not. It feels like I'm watching a live-action cartoon. Some of this episode, and it just rubs me the wrong way compared to everything else I know MASH to be. But all right, so they date. Their date goes completely sideways, but they're still able to enjoy themselves and laugh and all that. Hawkeye has probably got a concussion and multiple lacerations in his foot and probably a dislocated shoulder. We're not going to worry about that. Apparently he's fine because we see the end of the episode. It's a few weeks later. Eddie is going home. She seems happy, and she's gone, and everything is back to normal. Thank Christ. Yeah, this episode is, and that's that. Thank the Lord. Look, we've just spent 40 minutes ranting about this episode. It is what it is. It's a season. after such an amazing episode like Dear Dad, like, it's season 1. The fact that we've gotten this far without an absolutely terrible episode is, I think, great. But there's got to be one. It's season 1. There's got to be one that's just doesn't hit the mark, and this is it.
I can't wait for one of the podcast viewers to be, oh, this is my comfort episode. This is the one that's gotten me through everything, and listen to this episode of us just putting it through the ringer.
I mean, statistically, there's got to be one person, and if you are that person, I'm sorry, but this episode ain't it for 95% of the humans on this planet. So, with that being said, before I go on my tirade of how I think this episode could have been done better, give me your guys' thoughts, because we can keep screaming at the wind about this episode, but ultimately we gotta summarize it. We gotta boil it down. What did you guys think?
Overall, did not like the way this episode was written, the direction it went, the portrayal of Edwina. I mean, the actress was amazing, of course.
Yeah, Arlene
she did an excellent
Galanka,
job.
Fantastic.
Yes, she did an amazing job. The way the character was written, I just completely disagree with. Some of the tones of the episode also just completely disagree with. There are some good moments though with Hawkeye and Edwina. There's some nice moments, so that kind of helps it out a little bit. So I'm not going to give it a 1 out of 5, but I think those little nuggets of gold will only bump it up to 1.5. I guess. Yeah.
1.5. Woo!
1.5 out of 5. Woohoo! By far my lowest rating.
Oh yeah. Wilson, how about you?
Look, I've said this 100 times before. I'll say it 1,000,000 times again. I'm willing to be more charitable to an episode that I think has some good jokes. And to its credit, I thought there were some really good jokes in this one. But if you're going to write a plot where the writers stretch their funny bone, at least make it a cohesive plot. Don't shoehorn in deep philosophical quotes you found on a bathroom stall to try and make it all mean something at the end, you know? So to that end, I am going to be harsh, and I am going to give it a 1 out of 5.
Okay, you guys shocked me. One of you actually rated it lower than I did. Yeah, before I give mine, because I will go on kind of I'm going to give my rating, and I'm going to go on how I think they could have done this episode better based on other episodes of MASH that already exist.
Please.
Or not exist in other seasons, not just in season 1. But so real quick, let's bounce to the audience, who mostly responded via Twitter. Chief Smash Forever, it says 2.5 out of 5. A decent episode, but honestly just don't love the whole plot. Will watch but never get super excited to do so. There are some funny gags when she is on the date with Hawkeye and the camp trying to convince him to go on the date. One of the bottom 8 episodes of MASH season 1. All right, much more charitable than we were. I do agree, though. Like we all said, there are some very good moments of the episode, just overall not great. This lightsaber kills fascists. I pride myself on my well-thought-out and articulate responses regarding each episode, so here I go. 2 out of 5 martini olives. Some nice slapstick by Alda. Can't rescue a plot that would have fit better as a Gomer Pyle episode. Not the show's finest hour, to say the very least. Big Beard Booty Daddy, 1 out of 5. And that's being generous. Oh, no. One of the very few episodes I skip whenever I rewatch the show. There are a few good laughs, but most of the stuff during the date is just unfunny, a true low point in the series. 2.5, there's some decent, from Donut Eater 111, there are some decent parts here. Arlene Galanka and Alan Alda work well together. Yes, I agree.
Amen.
Through both the slapstick and the brief humanizing moment near the end, but the story makes me cringe more than it makes me laugh. And
yes.
Right there, that's it. It makes me cringe more than it makes me laugh. Chad Smith. How you doing, Chad? Arlene Galanka gives a great performance in service of a cringy, hacky storyline. Edwina would have made a great recurring character if she hadn't been shipped back home. 1 out of 5 short straws. When you ask your mom to take you to see... Wait. Okay. I'm one of you's going to need to Google this. When you ask your mom to take you to see Lysistrata and she tells you we have Lysistrata at home, she means this episode. I am so sorry that I am not cultured enough to understand your joke. I think it's hilarious, but I don't get it.
It is a comic account of a woman's extraordinary mission to end the Peloponnesian War between Greek city-states by denying all the men of the land any sex, which was the only thing they truly and deeply desired.
Okay.
77% of users liked this book. Thank you, Google.
Hang on. Now that I understand, I knew that was a Greek story. I forgot that it was its name. Chad Smith, I would like to apologize for not being cultured. I would like to give you huge props on that joke. It's awesome. When we have Lysistrata at home.
We got some ancient Greek jokes up in here now. All right.
Our
audience
so
is too
smart. Our audience is too smart for our dumbasses.
I feel like quoting ancient Greek buys back all of the lowbrow humor we've made for the
I feel like
rest
this is a
of
great
podcast.
philosophy joke. This is a great, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. I've just never heard one before, so this is refreshing.
Oh, boy. Chad Smith does say one other thing that I did want to point out. He does say that there is a magic formula that makes Quantum Hawkeye work. Because Hawkeye is simultaneously an irredeemable horn dog, but he is also kind, gentle, and sensitive. Whatever they left out of the formula this week gave him whiplash.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like, we do see some great moments of Hawkeye's two sides that make him a great character, but there's something in the middle that's missing that just it just doesn't work. Carrie A says 1.5 skippable. Arlene is a good actress, but wish she had a better story. Very meh episode. Can't remember one good standout moment. Yeah. So I'm kind of with the sentiment of everything we heard. I'm at a 1.5. I'm willing to give it, kind of like Jared said, I'm willing to give it that bump because there are some great one-liners, and I genuinely love Arlene and Alan together on screen. I've never just called Alan Alda Alan, and that felt weird to do, and I'm never going to do it again.
This is good. Yeah, that was weird. Never do that again. Don't get familiar.
Yeah, don't get familiar. I'm sorry, Mr. Alda. And
there you go. That's better.
I said it, and I'm like, this will sound fine, and my brain broke as soon as I did. Anyway, yeah, 1.5 for me. There are little nuggets of like, ooh, yeah. But overall, like I believe Donady just said, too much cringe, not enough funny.
Yeah,
but
I feel like I could have bumped up my rating to a 2 if it hadn't have followed Dear Dad, an absolute banger of an episode. But just the sheer whiplash from top of the mountain to bottom of the pit is a little jarring. It's a little jarring.
Now I will give a quick little synopsis of how I think this episode could have been done better. Keep everything the same, mostly, except you tone down Eddie to be not quite as like Scooby-Doo comedically klutzy.
Yes.
Just make her shy, awkward, and a little bumbling. You still have the conversation she has with Nurse Scorch about feeling lonely and like no one sees her for her. That's all good. Here's where I would make the twist. Somehow show that Hawkeye overheard that conversation, and the camp is confused why he's laying the moves on such a dorky girl and weird girl. Like have Hawkeye be genuinely wanting, not necessarily to be in a long-term relationship with Edwina, but show her that
to help her out a little bit. You know,
be like, yes, I'm doing this so that you don't go home feeling unloved, and have her be maybe even during the date scene, or keep the mess tent scene. Mess tent scene is beautiful. And then you do the date scene almost the same, except you tone down the slapstick ridiculousness, and maybe have Eddie get mad and be like, you're just doing this for a laugh. You know, I heard everyone talking, and have Hawkeye be like, no, kind of like he was in the mess tent. I want you're going home soon. You seem upset, and I think something along those lines would have been much better than what we got. But we're not in that universe, so we got what we got, and that's one of only like 1 or 2 MASH episodes that I could think would prefer it done a different way. But yeah. So yeah, that was Edwina. That was I need alcohol.
Yes, it was.
I need alcohol after that. If you would like to share your thoughts on Edwina and you weren't able to get them in before this podcast goes up, please feel free to hit us up on Twitter at bestcareanywhere, on Instagram at bestcare4077, Facebook. You can email us at bestcareanywherepod@gmail.com if you want to go on a whole long diatribe like we just did. I am happy to report, gentlemen, that in my opinion, this is the bottom of the mountain to our climb to one of the best episodes the whole series and this season has to offer. So look forward to the fact that this is the worst episode of this season, I think, and we have nowhere to go but up from here. Yay?
Yay!
All right.
So with that, our next episode is Love Story. I get it. We just had a love story episode. We're going to get another one. It's okay. It's better. It's not good, but it's better.
This is a radar-centric episode, isn't it?
It is a radar-centric episode.
Very
and
cool.
It's kind of the start. It's the start of the uncringifying of radar, in my opinion. So yay.
Good.
And with that, I need a drink. Thanks for being here, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
The time has come for us to say sayonara. My heart